Hi, this is Mary Valamides, and I'm going to share with you the 4th grade, second 6 weeks, mathematics curriculum previews. This PowerPoint will be available in Canvas. So for the second 6 weeks, you're going to continue with Unit 2, multiplication. Notice anything highlighted yellow is what's different from 4th grade to 3rd grade. So you're going to multiply with a 4-digit number by a 1-digit number, whereas 2nd grade basically just did a 2-digit number by 1-digit number at the most. You estimate products up to 1,000, whereas in 3rd grade they stopped at 100. You multiply 2-digit numbers, 2 by 2, whereas again they only did 2 by 1 in 3rd grade. You interpret remainder, which is a totally new concept for your students. You do partial quotients, which is a totally new concept. Last year they did partial products. And also you represent the quotient of a 4-digit dividend by a 1-digit divisor, which last year they didn't do that as well. It was only a 2-digit dividend by a 1-digit divisor. And then add and subtract whole numbers and decimals to the hundredth place, which is a new concept for your kids. These are 3 of the 8 texts and the skill statement that we're going to be covering this 6 weeks, and here's the remaining 5. So we're going to start with multiplication, which will be taught between October 3rd and 13th. As you finish with the first 6 weeks of multiplying 4-digit numbers by 1-digit number, remember to go over the different properties of operation, such as the distributive property when using partial products, and as well as the commutative, identity, and zero property of multiplication. Then you'll go into multiplying 2-digit numbers. Well, I really wanted to share with you the description of what this would look like when you try to find the product of 4,010. Notice that TEA has shared with us that you can say the product is 10 times larger than 4,000. So the place value of the 4 increases from 1,000 to 10,000. So this relates to that place value standard that you taught earlier in the year. This is how this text was tested on the 2016 STAR test. Another text that you're going to be teaching is 4.4G, where you're rounding to the nearest 10, 100, or 1,000. Notice that an example of a problem is given below. 63 rows of vegetables with 9 vegetable plants can round 9 to 10, so that you can have 63 times 10 equals 630. Or you can round 63 to 60 and do 60 times 9. What's the best estimate of 59 times 61? You can round 59 to 60 and 61 to 60, so that we have 60 times 60, giving us the product of 3,600. With 4.4C, you're going to be using arrays and area models. Here is an example of using an array of 12 times 13. But be sure you use it with base 10 blocks first. Then the kids can see the relationship of what the base 10 blocks would be to the pictorial models. Just as here we're showing 13 and we're multiplying it by 10, and then by the 2 in 12, giving us basically the same kind of picture as you would with the pictorial on grid paper. So make sure you use the base 10 blocks and then transition to using grid paper and having the kids draw pictorials of what you're doing with base 10 blocks. Then the next thing you're going to be moving to is the algorithm of where you are multiplying a 4-digit number by a 1-digit number. The kids can still use strategies when doing this, such as this example of using an area model. You can do that, as well as just multiplying. Here's an example of an item on the STAR test, where the kids just multiplied 82 times 25 without a visual. Now, 4.4H, we are going to really focus in on fluency 1- and 2-step problem solving with multiplication. And here's an example of where just an item of where the kids can use this. And here is how it was tested, where we have 18 times 8 times 9. So it's a multi-step multiplication problem. October the 14th and November 2nd, you're going to be covering division. And now we're going to be talking about multiplication and division with a one-step and two-step problem. Here's an example of how it was tested on STAR. Notice that you would multiply 32 times 27 and then divide the product by 6. Now with division, you also are going to talk about interpreting remainders, which is a new concept for your kids. There are basically 4 methods to interpreting remainders. You drop the remainder and don't use it at all. You share the remainder equally with your divisor. The remainder is the answer. Or you add 1 to the quotient because you're going to use that remainder, so you just add 1. Here's an example of dropping the remainder. 5 friends went to play a game. How many cards will each player get if a deck of cards has 52 cards? Well, when you divide 52 by 5, the answer is 10 with a remainder of 2. The last 2 cards cannot be torn to share, so you just don't use that remainder. You drop it. Sharing the remainder equally, if you have 4 friends who are mowing the lawn and they're given $22, how much money will each friend get? Well, when you divide 22 by 4, the answer is 5, remainder of 2. Now, you don't want to throw away that last $2, so you share it equally among each of the friends. So the answer would be $5.50 each. Now, when the remainder is the answer, here's an example. Karen used 22 yards of fabric to make a gift for her 4 friends. If each gift uses 4 yards of fabric, how much fabric will be left? Well, 22 divided by 4 equals 5, remainder of 2. The remainder is what we're looking for. So the 2 yards of fabric will be the remainder. That is what the question is asking for. The last type is adding 1 to the quotient. So 2 classes are joining to hear a speaker. There are 52 students who sit in rows of 8 students per row. Now when we divide 52 by 8, there will be 6 rows with 4 kids left over. So how many rows of students will there be? Well, we need to include those last 4 students. So now we'll add 1 to the 6, making it 7. So Eric, this is an example of a STAR test item. 158 is divided by 8. Now the correct answer would be 20 because you have 19 with a remainder of 6. Therefore, you're going to need another shelf for these cases, for these figures, another case. So therefore, of these 4 types of methods to interpret remainders, what are you going to use? You're actually going to use number 4, add 1 to the quotient. 4E and 4H are going to be together when covering division strategies. So here we use arrays, area models, or equations. And the first item that is shown is one with arrays. On this one, you can use color tiles as one of your manipulatives to show problems such as this. In area models, don't forget to use your gridded whiteboards, the centimeter grid whiteboards. Division strategies, again, this is where you're going to go to the algorithm. So here are a couple of items that one with a visual, one without a visual. This is how it was tested on STAR. Notice on this one, the answer does not have a remainder, and it's F273. Now, another part of 4.4G is using compatible numbers to estimate solutions. So here's an example of using compatible numbers. Carol has 83 plants she wants to put into 9 rows. 83 is not a friendly number. So we can round it to 80, but still that's not a friendly number. So a friendly number that would be compatible to 9 would be 81. So 81 divided by 9 equals 9 plants. And that's the closest answer we can get, and that's by using compatible numbers. Notice that compatible numbers were tested on STAR, where we have 173 minutes divided by 3. We can round down to 170, but again, that's not a friendly number. But if we use 180 and divide by 3, then we can get the answer of F, 60. Addition and subtraction will begin November 3rd through November 11th. And with this Module 6, you'll see that we are adding and subtracting with decimals to the hundredths place. Here's a good video that you can use using grid paper and the gridded whiteboards with that video. Also, this is how it's tested. Notice that this particular text was not tested, but it was tested with conjunction with 4.10b, one of our economics financial literacy texts, and our kids scored 56%. But still, they're using decimals to add and subtract. Now, STAR and CBA, STAR will be on May 8th, CBA will be on November 14th. It's the first day of the third 6 weeks. So all the STAR released items, the sample items, and the STAR items have been placed in the clarifiers for you to use. Now look at the clarifiers and make sure you're using those items. Now what were 42% of the questions on STAR? What were the answer choices? Well, 42% of the answer choices were either verbal or visual. So make sure you're having the kids explain their answers or using visuals to have as an answer. Remember, there will be 3 grids on each test in each CBA. I'm sorry, on CBA is only 1. But you are using the grades 4 through 5 grid. And if you look in Eduforia under yearly content documents and state assessments, you will find this grid. Now, if you don't use the grids, make sure you use them now. Basic facts by October 21st. Notice if it's a stage 3 item, it's to mastery. Stage 2, we're still learning with strategies. And then you'll continue using your basic facts until January 13th. And again, stage 3 is to mastery. Vocabulary that you'll be using this 6 weeks. As a review, you're going to be using these words. And then for new words, you're going to be using interpret, inverse, partial quotient, and remainder. Do some fun activities with your words with word wall activity. So you can look at the word wall and tell your kids, I'm thinking of a word that begins with the letter R and ends with the letter R. Of course, I'm thinking of the word remainder. You can also play tic-tac-toe with your kids. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions or anything that you would like to share, please contact me, email me, or call me at 5810. Thank you. Have a good day.